Hey guys, this is Billy Davidson with Davidson Pressure Washing Painting coming out of Hammond, Louisiana. Today I wanted to talk to y'all a little about something different about parking lot striping. These are a couple airless parking lot striping machines that I am doing some maintenance on today. Cleaning them out, getting them ready for a very large weekend that we got coming up. Hopefully the weather cooperates. It's been raining out here all day long. It's got everything all nasty. So the main topic I want to talk to you about today is probably something you're not going to really hear too much out there, other than I think the guy that does the Idaho painter. I think he talks about it a little bit, but that is really not for parking lot striping. That is mainly for painting buildings and stucco and stuff like that. But he does give some good information. But we are going to talk about tips that go into these machines. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if Amazon has some of this stuff online, and I'll put some links down in the description for you. Probably make it a lot easier than running around town trying to look for the correct spray tip. A lot of times, man, to be honest with you, if you walk in Sherwin-Williams or one of these other paint stores, even Lowe's, Home Depot, they just don't know what you're talking about. You know, they know how to mix the paint and pick the color, and they know a few other things. But these are usually some young people that are still in college, and they got a part-time job. So this is not their expertise. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into one of these local paint stores around here and asked for a parking lot spray tip, and they look at me, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So I got a brand new tip in my hand here. This is usually what we use. This is a Titan. Let me see if I can get some better lighting for you. This is a Titan. We run all Titans, so whatever brand you have, you want to look that up. But if you do run Titans, I'll put a link in the description below, and I'm going to talk to you about this tip. This is what they call a 317, and I'm not sure if my camera's picking it up for you or not. But when you change this tip out, you need to take the tip guard off and change these little inserts in here. I don't know if you can see them down in the bottom here. It's a little metal ring that goes in there, and another little backer piece. So you can only put them in one way, so you can't go wrong with it. The important thing is, if you change your tip, you need to change this little piece out too, because this is probably the most important thing right here to change. A lot of times these tips don't really need change, but to get this little ring, you got about a tip too. So I always just take the tip, clean it off real good, the old tip, put it in a little half-gallon jug of thinner. Like, I got a bunch of tips in there, and I just keep them in thinner and keep them in a toolbox, a little quart or something with a cap on it. But so I'm gonna show you how to, from start to finish. So let's say you order this off of Amazon, or if you order it off of some other website. It comes in, you unpack it, and this is what you're looking at. And I'm going to show you what to do once you get this package and once you have your machine. 9 times out of 10, a lot of this is not going over, in the manual too often. You can't really find a lot of the information online. So I'm going to show you from start to finish. And to be honest with you, I see some of these guys out here striping. They're doing pretty good, but they need to change their tip, and they need to change this little ring out on the inside, and it'll make their job a lot easier. So hopefully this helps. So I'm going to splice together a few clips, in talking about how to change this from start to finish, these inserts, how to take it off the machine and everything, and that should get you up and running. So stay tuned, and I'll be back soon. This will be the business end of your parking lot striping machine, and this is what you'll be looking at. And what we'll be working on today again is changing this tip out, and on the inside of here is some little those little O-rings, and I don't know, I'm not even sure the name of that little piece we'll be changing out, but we're going to change out. It's like a little orifice thing, and what it's a restrictor. That's what it's called. So we'll change out that restrictor and the tip. So basically what I've had to do, since I know I was doing this with one hand, I went ahead and loosened this with my wrench. So basically what you're going to do is, let's see if I can get it in here tight where you can see it. I thought I had it loose. There we go. So you basically just back this off. Same thing, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So back it off. And I've made a couple other videos about this. Now this gun here, you might want to make sure it's not pressurized, because if you pull that trigger, I think, you know, man, it'll nail you right in the face. And if you got thinner or paint or something in it, or even a latex paint, you might want to wire brush this down, kind of clean it up. Take you a gas rag or something and clean it up a little bit. It ain't got to be perfect, because, you know, the first time you use it again, it's going to be right back dirty. So I got the tip guard off. I'm going to set this down right here. I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing. We're going to take this out right here with a dental pick. And I might not be able to show it to you. I'm going to try, because I almost kind of need two hands, and I'm here by myself right now. But if I can't show it to you, I'll definitely show you putting it back in. So you take a dental pick out, and there's two pieces, and loosen them up, put them on a table, maybe on a paper towel, and tap them. Get your old pieces out. Save those old pieces. You never know, you might need them. And but if you don't change these pieces out and you just change this tip, your machine's going to use a lot of paint. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what kind of tip we use. Like I said, I use a 317. Some people prefer a 215. There's all types of tip sizes. We're going to go over what those numbers mean and why I use what I use, and then you can make your decision on that. So we'll be back soon. All right, guys, I've mounted the gun onto the spray bar assembly. A couple things I want to point out here. Make sure your gun is all the way forward and it's snug. You don't have to tighten this down extremely tight. Just make sure that your trigger, this little mechanism that pulls the trigger, because this is what pulls it from the handlebars. Make sure it's as far as at the end of this trigger as you can. If it's way up here, it might work. You know, it'll pull, but when you go to release it, this thing will keep spraying. Man, you don't want that to happen. So make sure it's all the way up. And I apologize, I wasn't able to film putting this back together. You really got to have two hands for it. And I'm here by myself. But y'all can it's pretty much self-explanatory. But one of the more important things I want to do, once you get this locked in, a lot of guys, you can see from this angle, you want that spray bar past your wheel, obviously. You know, I have seen some guys, man, I don't even know what they were thinking. They were striping with it real close, and that back tire was running over their lines, and it's like they didn't even notice it. I told them, I was like, man, pull your spray bar out. But, you know, make sure that spray bar gets out past that wheel. And it only goes so far, so you don't want to, you know, yank it out from this little tube here. But, you know, as long as it's out 4 or 5 inches, that's good. And it also gives you a good line of sight up to the handlebars. The further you can get it out, as long as you got room, you know, it gives you a good angle. So always what you want to do when you are spraying, and there's several things you got to watch for all at the same time. You watching your paint strike the ground, you watching in front of you, and you following the line. But also, it's kind of hard to explain it, but you're really not following the line right here. You're following the line all the way to the end. You know, if you keep one eye here and one eye at the end of the line, you'll be able to strike straight. But man, I tell you, it's practice. It takes a lot of practice. Some people pick it right up on. I had trained a guy, like, he did 2 lines, and it was like, he was perfect after that. After his second line, he was gone. Myself, it took me, I hate to even admit it, it took me probably 100 lines before I got good. You know, just getting and then if you're off a few days, then you go back to it, you kind of like got to rethink about how to do it. But some people have a knack for it, some people don't. It just depends on how much dexterity you have, I guess. But I wanted to explain to y'all about these tips, because there's not much information out on YouTube about these tips. You're really not going to find a whole lot on the internet. And to be honest with you, a lot of people don't want you to know about this because they want you to fail. And I'd rather see, you know, the guys out there do good doing it. And I think it just helps the industry out as a whole. You know, if you do good work and get paid well, you know, you're not out there rock bottom prices and stuff. But so this tip I use is a 317. That's my go-to tip. It always has been. I very rarely use another tip other than a 317. Reason being is, and y'all might find a different reason why you might want to use a different tip, but I'll tell you about this tip here. 317. 3 means the width of the line. The 17 means the volume. So 3, if you double that, you always want to double it. It gives you a 6-inch line at 12 inches of height. And you can see here, this is not 12 inches. This is 4 or 5 inches probably. Now, a 2 would give you a 4-inch line at the tip off the ground at 12 inches. So your tip would have to be way up here, spraying downwards. Reason why I don't like that, because that is a lot of area for that paint to travel from the end of your tip to hit the surface of the parking lot. If it's not windy and you're not striping fast, you might get away with it. But if it's windy, that wind will mess up your spray pattern, either side to side or back and forth, if it's 12 inches off the ground. This 3, it gives you a 6-inch line at 12 inches off the ground, so we don't need it there. We're trying to get a 4, so actually you lower it. That draws in the apex of the spray pattern and gets the tip a little lower to the ground. The paint comes out the tip and boom, it's right on the ground. It don't have time to get messed up by wind conditions or even your motion traveling forward. If your tip is way off the ground, even the motion off going forward, the air resistance on that spray fan will bring your pattern behind your spray tip and it will kind of flap in the wind. And I don't like that. So depending on your preference, you can run a 215 or 217, but just know to get a 4-inch line, the bottom, the very tip will have to be 12 inches above the ground. These 3s, you can run them anywhere between 6 and 7 inches off the ground, and it's perfect. One thing about that, you could use a 4, but then guess what? That gets you an 8-inch line at 12 inches above the ground. So obviously you got to bring it way down to really close to the ground. Like it's got to darn near hover above your line, a number 4 tip, like a 417. I don't like doing that because if you're in a real bumpy parking lot, any bumps that the front wheels hit or the back wheels hit, all that motion will transfer to your spray arm. Now some spray arms are set up with a little more float to them. These are not. These are pretty rigid. So if that tip is really close to the ground, man, it's bouncing a lot, and it's not going to look good. So you want to find that happy medium with your tip off the ground. So like I said, I'll use a 317. I know a guy here locally. He loves the 215s. All the best to him. I just don't like striping my tip that far off the ground. I know some guys that use some 4s. Their tip is just barely above the ground. Now that works fine if it's a brand new parking lot. But y'all know in most cases these parking lots are rough. They're not pretty. They're kind of tore up. You may run across a can out there in the parking lot, a bottle, a little stick. Obviously you're trying to look for it, but it happens. If you run across something and it gets bumpy, if that tip's really close to the ground, your line is all messed up. So there's a couple things to remember. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link or two in the description below. It'll go straight to Amazon. And to be totally honest, yes, I do make $1 or $2 off of each sale. So just full disclosure, it's not much. It's about 10%. Sometimes they pay me 6% if someone buys something through my Amazon affiliate account. So that's nothing. It's lunch money every now and then. Sometimes main thing is keeping y'all from having to run all over creation looking for these tips and buying the wrong one. Because I promise you, once you open a package, usually they're not going to take them back. So they $30, $40. Sometimes you get them for $20. Just depends on where you buy them from. But I usually keep 3 or 4 on a truck because if this tip gets clogged up, I don't have to worry about unclogging it. I just pop a new tip in it. Or I have dropped them in a drain before. I had a couple tips in my pocket. I reached for my keys. They were hung up in my keys, and one rolled right down the drain. I couldn't get it quick enough, and there it went. So I like to keep 3 or 4 on a truck just in case. And in our case, we run 2 machines, so I have a couple for each machine. So anyway, I'm going to put a link for a 317 in the description below, and maybe some tip guards. Y'all can click on it and see what y'all want to buy or whatever. You might can find them somewhere cheaper. I don't know, but I know definitely if I give you that link, they're going to send you exactly what you're looking for. But like always, if y'all need to reach out for me personally. My phone number is 985-345-0778. And possibly if we talk on the phone, I might can describe it a little bit better to you, give you some other pointers that's just not currently thinking about, trying to record a video. But like always, reach out for me. I'll be happy to help anyway, and I hope this helped.